all day. Hi everyone, this is Margaret Hirsch, Home with Hirsch's, and thank you so much for joining us for our Motivational Mondays. Now, everybody needs motivation on a Monday. We just had the most amazing motivational meeting here, getting all our staff revved up and ready for the end of the month. It's the 28th today. For us, it's payday, very exciting day. There's always a stream from us to Kentucky Fried Chicken as soon as the pay hits their pay packets. And I apologize for all the noise in the background because I work in a shop, so it's non-stop noise here. But just to say welcome to Stacey and Jess, my co-hosts who have Connectable Life, and especially our guest speaker today, Ashley, who's going to be talking to us about our dreams. And I always say I'm the world's worst because when I hit that pillow, boy, am I gone. And I wake up with the alarm and I just get up straight up, you know. We were talking the other day about just hitting the snooze button. I know Shane's a snooze button hitter. So, but as that alarm hits, I stand up, well, I'm gone. My husband says, where are you? I'm out of here already. I'm up and running. But I think a lot of people say, oh, I can't sleep. Well, I say, well, don't sleep. I only sleep 4 hours a night. In fact, on Saturday night, I only slept for 2 hours because I got home from Zanzibar at 1 o'clock in the morning and I had to get up at 3 o'clock to get to Cape Town yesterday. So when you have those type, you don't dream much, I promise you, because you're like a dead person. But we're going to be talking about dreams today. So who's going to introduce Ashley to us, Stacey?
I will. Thank you. Oh, wonderful. Ashley, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Ashley is a specialist wellness counselor and an internationally certified TRE provider. She combines a variety of therapies and tools in order to help her clients achieve clarity and healing for whatever they are facing. She encourages clients to become more self-aware in order to help them find the answers to the questions that they may have about life. She pursued TRE to broaden her knowledge and skill set to help people learn to cope and deal with their anxiety and stress on a deeper level. Amongst the many courses and fields of study Ashley has undertaken, the one that she enjoys the most is the dream analysis practice. She finds dreams fascinating and believes that teaching people how to interpret their dreams is one of the greatest tools to help people find fulfillment and guidance from within. As a specialist wellness counselor, she likes to approach each situation individually and views them through a holistic approach, offering a well-rounded solution to each client. She believes that if you can understand what drives you as an individual, you can help facilitate growth and positive change from within. So thank you so much, Ashley. I'm so intrigued to hear what you have to say.
Thank you so much, Stacey, and good morning to Margaret and Jess and everyone else that's here today. Thanks for joining us. So as most of you might be aware or maybe not aware, today we're going to be speaking about our dreams. What are they? What are in them? Do they hold any meaning? Should we be paying attention? Can we learn anything really from them? So I guess let's just start at the beginning with what are dreams? And in Carl Jung's words, the dream is a small hidden door to the deepest, most intimate sanctum of the soul, which opens to the primeval cosmic night. So isn't that just so beautiful? Like how he just describes a dream. And how I like to think of them is they're like little messages from my subconscious mind. And it's a form of communication from within. I think it was Rosemary Thompson who so eloquently calls them personal letters to yourself, right? So just to give you a quick understanding of what the subconscious mind and what it does is the subconscious mind is the part of the brain that regulates our involuntary bodily functions, so our breathing, our digestion, our heart rate. It is also the part that acts as a filter to what we experience daily. So, I mean, on a daily basis, we are in an environment where there's a lot of sensory inputs coming in, and this part of our brain is to make sure that we aren't overwhelmed. And it stores these little messages and images into like little subliminal images and internal messages, like little bubbles. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the movie Inside Out. So, go on. No, it's such a cute movie. It's basically of inside this little girl's brain who's going through quite a difficult time in her life. And inside, it's like the inner workings, and they have these little glass bubbles with all her memories and things stacked in, and it's almost like this whole room just filled with these little glass things of bubbles. And that's what I kind of like to think happens inside our head. You know, it's just so easy to see it in that way. Sorry, I get a bit distracted because I really like that. So the subconscious mind is always sending us subliminal messages to communicate with us and try and navigate our lives a little bit better according to our past experiences, right? But oftentimes we are so unaware of it because our rational part of our brain is trying to process things that we are doing currently, and often forgets about past things. And it's only truly when we practicing mindfulness or when our mind is very quiet that these messages will come through again and make themselves known. And oftentimes it's in our dreams, because that's when our mind is quiet, or quietest generally. So another interesting thing about the subconscious is that it can't accurately differentiate between what is real and what is imagined experiences. And with these two things that it can't differentiate, it means that both of the experiences will bring an emotional response. So even if it's an imagined experience, we'll still feel scared, for instance, because it's still eliciting that emotion. And with that, we'll always have a nervous system response. So I don't know about you, but I've often woken up because I've been laughing in my sleep or crying in my sleep, or I know I had to wake my fiance up the other night because he was gripped onto the curtain as if he was falling down somewhere. And it's just so powerful how you can see that in these moments, how the subconscious, in these moments, in these dreams, something so real is happening to you that you're physically acting them out. So it's just a very nice understanding of how everything works. So with that said, I think I've gone on a little bit too much about the subconscious mind right now, but I like to think of dreams as like a little movie or a theatre production that you've gone to. And always when you're watching a movie, there's always hidden messages. Every little thing in the movie or dream, there is a subliminal message, or it represents something that maybe you won't realize watching it the first time, but the second time you actually start to pay attention, right? So that's what I really like about dreams, is oftentimes you'll look at it once and you're like, oh, okay, this is the message. And then the second and third time you look at it, you're like, actually, hang on, there's actually other things in here that make sense and that could be put into practice in my life, or maybe I should have thought of it that way. So these dreams often tell us something about our psyche. It reflects content of our own mind back to us. It's always in a conflict. Sometimes our true personality will come out in there. And sometimes even like what potentials we might hold within that we haven't explored, we haven't had the opportunity to think of, kind of stuff. So as we've established, I'm sure now you know that our dreams are formed part of our memories and past experiences. They are often based on our own belief systems, our own values, our thoughts, our own attitudes. And it's often past experiences that will come up in different ways, different interpretations of it. But they aren't always an accurate representation. So there's always symbolic or metaphorical interpretation. It's always a complex issue or an idea. So really, it's better to think of a dream as like an analogy where there is hidden meanings, right?
Don't you find that you've got to write them down? Because when I knew you were going to talk about dreams, and I thought, well, I always say I don't dream, but maybe I just dream and then I forget about them. So I had the pen and paper next to my bed, and as I woke up, I said, was I dreaming? What was I dreaming about? And if I wrote them down, there was stuff that definitely came out of it. But if I didn't, it was gone. I thought, no, I didn't dream anything. But if I did it like the minute I woke up, then there was definitely something there. So do you think that you should have that pen and paper next to your bed and write it down as you wake up? So this is what I dreamt about, and then you can analyze it later.
Yeah, so absolutely, Margaret. And like I was saying to Stacey last time, I said to her, do you have a dream that we could maybe try and interpret over tomorrow and revisit? And she's like, well, I don't really dream. So I said, well, funny, I'll give you a little tips on how to remember it. And one of the things is keeping a piece of paper and pen next to your bed. And the minute you wake up, write down even the thoughts or as much detail as you can of your dream. And the more you practice it, the more you're going to start dreaming, or the more you think about it, having dreams, the more you're going to have dreams, or you're going to remember them. So everyone dreams. It's just about whether they remember it or remember to write it down. So I don't know about anyone else, but
everybody dreams, because I always say I don't dream. I'm so excited. I go to bed, I go, I'm gone. I wake up in the morning and that's it. So do you really think that every night you definitely do dream?
Yes. So definitely, everyone does dream at night. It's just about whether you're remembering it or not. Or, I often think, I didn't have a dream last night. But if you think back then later in the day, driving down the road, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, hang on, actually remember dreaming about a yellow car or something odd. And then it starts to kind of kick in, but it's because I've trained myself to do that. But yes, I definitely think that everyone dreams.
What do you think about when you dream about falling? Because I often dream I'm falling, and they say, "Oh gosh, that's a sexual thing." I said, "God, no, I'm 72. I promise you it isn't." And then a dream that you're running and someone's chasing you. Are those the most popular things that people dream about?
Yeah, so I think they definitely come up quite often, or I think it's things that people will Google often because they think they all have similar meanings. But like I've just said, our dreams are pulled from our own belief systems, our own experiences, and we have to take those dreams into context within our own lives. So it doesn't help Googling, I was running away from a person in my dream. So, and then it's going to give you a definition or explanation, and it might not necessarily ring true to you because it might not be. For you, it might be anxiety, or it could be someone who, you've gone through that experience where someone really was chasing you down the road with a knife or whatever the case is, and it's just reliving that trauma to try and process it again. So, like, if you see it that way, you can see that not every dream will be the same meaning for everyone. So with you falling, someone says, oh, it's a sexual, but you said it doesn't ring true to me, which means it's not. I think you have to take the dream in context to realize, okay, this is what it could mean. What was happening before? What happened after? How did I feel? That kind of stuff.
So as part of your training, your therapy, do you ask people or do you wait for them to tell you about their dreams?
So I often just wait for them to bring it up, because a lot of people, I don't like to put too much pressure on people about their dreams. Often it will come up with people coming in and saying, I keep having a recurring dream. For instance, someone who's just recently lost their father, and they keep dreaming that the father is still there. It's part of their processing of losing their father at this age, and they needing to process it and feel like they're still there. So we'll chat about those things, but I don't like to put too much pressure on it, purely because it's their processing, and your brain will only give you enough information that it feels it's safe to do so. It doesn't want to send you back into a traumatized state. It doesn't want you to feel out of control. It just wants you to learn from certain things.
So now, Stacey, with 4 boys, I bet you sleep like a dead person when you go to sleep at night. How many dreams do you have?
I do actually sleep like a dead person, but last night I actually did have a dream, which I phoned Ashley this morning and we discussed it, because I woke up at 4 and I had to drop my son off for his boarding school lift. So I went back to sleep after that. And when you're in that like half awake, half asleep stage, then I had this very interesting dream, very vulnerable dream, but it's worth diving into. But it's interesting because recently I read a book by Jim Quick called Limitless, and he mentions another book called Atomic Habits, which I then went on to read. And Jim Quick talks about how every single morning when he wakes up, he dissects his dreams, and he has the pen and paper next to his bed. He writes them down, and he sits up in bed and he thinks about his dreams. He processes it, and I thought that's so interesting. I mean, it's so good to know. So now I've put that pad next to my bed in the hope that I hardly ever dream. So today's been the first time I've actually genuinely been able to do it, which was so nice. Amazing. Hey, I'm like wanting to dream, and then in the night I have a dream. But then, apparently the woman who wrote Frankenstein, her name was Mary something, she actually had the dream of Frankenstein and then turned it into a novel. So there's so much that you can do with your dreams, apparently.
And just from your side, what do you dream? If you have dreams, I very rarely have a dream. I have to say.
I think it's fascinating. I mean, I don't have like a big, oh my gosh, what happened in my dream last night, but I do have one reoccurring dream that comes up. I have the most ridiculous fear of snakes, like ridiculous. I'll look outside a window and my eyes will find a snake every time. Like, I don't know. I mean, I always had it, and then I had like 2 or 3 encounters with snakes, and it just became a ridiculous fear. So I do find that when I'm feeling a little bit stressed or overwhelmed, or whatever it is, snakes come up in my dreams. So that's like, I love the fact that Ashley says that they're little personal letters, because my thing was going to be, we're constantly looking for messages from our body. And I think we can use dreams as one of those messages. So again, if I'm dreaming about snakes, I can go, hang on, need to slow down a bit, figure out what's going on, de-stress, whatever it is. But it's a little message that I know that my subconscious brain is sending me. But I just think the whole thing is so fascinating. I mean, you cannot see someone for years and years and years and years and years, and then suddenly you bump into them. And then that night you dream about them, because they just, you don't go to bed thinking about them, but they're just sitting in that subconscious part of your brain. So I think there's lots that we can learn from our dreams.
I'll tell you a little story that happened to me here. I'm on Lisson Branch at the moment, and we brought a girl down from in the town, and she said, could she come and we stay in my flat? Could she bring her boyfriend? And I said, yes, okay, you can stay in the flat. She said, well, he has some pets. Can he bring the pets? I said, what sort of pets? She said, they're snakes. So I said, I'm sorry, you definitely can't have snakes anywhere near me. I can't handle it. And they weren't little snakes. They were great big boa constrictors. So unbeknown to me, they put a cage in my flat, and had these snakes in, and one escaped. But they never told me until they found it. And I just imagined myself waking up and saying, and now I must be honest, I was freaked out a bit after that. And then she said, no, the snake was lying next to her. And then I Googled it. Why would the snake be lying next to her? It was sizing it up to eat her. I mean, it was the most bizarre thing. So yeah, I think I probably had a few nightmares after that. But I just want to talk a bit about the subconscious mind now, because I work on the subconscious all the time. I've done all the lessons and all the things about the subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind can't differentiate between fact and fiction. So I feed my subconscious all the things that I wanted to know and wanted to have. Now, what about feeding your subconscious mind with positive things, so that when you have a dream, it's not about snakes or running away or something like that, but positive things happening to you, that you actually draw things to yourself. To me, it's just amazing when you're thinking about something, as you say, what you think about, you bring about, and it really does work like that. So how do you think you can feed positive things into your mind, Ashley, so that you start to dream about what you want, not what you don't want?
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. Obviously, you always want to give yourself positive affirmations, like seeing the positives, writing down 10 things every day that positive happened to you, starting your day with saying that today is going to be a good day, that kind of stuff. Although I think it definitely works, but I still think there will be aspects that will come up that are negative that we haven't dealt with in our lives, because that I think is very, it's part of our human nature, right? We're here to grow and to learn from ourselves and to learn within and learn from other people. So no matter how much positive affirmation you give yourself, there's still a little bit of negativity that we will see around us, right? And that will come in because we need to learn how to deal with it. We need to learn how we as people and individuals deal with it, and how we process it, how we would react if we weren't in a positive state, you know? So I think definitely giving yourself the positive stuff, but we also have to be mindful that even if we're giving ourselves all the positive affirmations, there's still going to be a negative energy or experience around us.
So you think there's some things that you're holding back, and that's probably what you'll dream about, the thing that you're holding back on. You don't want anybody to know this about yourself. You don't want them to see that you're feeling vulnerable, that things aren't going your way. I know some of my friends' businesses aren't going so well. You say, how's it doing? They say, fine. And their eyes are saying, it's not fine. So, you know, how do you deal with that? And how do you make sure that when you're dreaming of the stuff, it's not all the negative things that are coming out? I want to turn it into a positive.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is where the nice thing about the dream analysis comes in. So writing down your dreams, dissecting your dreams, and finding out what is the hidden message. I mean, some dreams don't have hidden messages. I want to make that quite clear. But finding out what the hidden message is, finding out what your subconscious is trying to bring out in you. Is it something that you need to address? Is it a hidden emotion that you haven't confronted because you want to seem positive to everyone else that you need to address? Then you need to address it. The only way you'll know this is if you're going through your dreams or dissecting your dreams and figuring out what has come up. You know, am I feeling vulnerable? Am I feeling not good enough? Am I feeling, you know, that I'm a fraud in my industry kind of thing, you know, which I know a lot of counselors feel. And if you don't address that and say, you know what, yes, it's a feeling, but these are the positives that stack up against it to override that. And I think it's, again, human nature to want to be better, to want to be the best, to want to show everyone that we don't feel bad, or we don't feel sad, or we don't feel down, because I think it has become one of those things that you put on a show to be great. My life is amazing. There's no worries, you know. So yeah, I think
it's called My Instagram Life. We only put the good things, we don't put all the bad things. Daphne here says she used to dream of flying to the old houses that needed being redoing. And surprisingly, when she started buying and selling houses, she'd choose all the houses that needed work. So in her old days, she decided to buy land and build a fresh new house that doesn't need anything done with it. So when people come to you, what are the sort of most popular things that they ask you? Say, listen, I'm dreaming, this is my recurring dream. How do you start interpreting it? Do you just start dissecting it, or where do you start?
Yeah. So as Stacey now did this morning, she gave me her dream, and I said the best part, or the best thing to do, is sit down, write out your dream. Once you've written it out, you know, this is the kind of tool I like to give my clients that they can go home and do every day or whenever. Write it out, underline the objects or the significant people in your dream and the places, and then write them down in a list. Next to each of those, in this moment, what are the 3 or 5 things that resonate with that item? For instance, if I have a dream that I'm in a bed and there's snakes falling from the ceiling, something short and weird, but it happens all the time. What does the bed resemble to me in my life? Well, it's the beginning of my day, it's the end of my day, it's comfort, safety. I feel relaxed when I'm in there, and then you go on to the next thing. And then I take out of those 5, what is the most important one, or what is the one that resonates with you according to this dream? And you write that down, and then break it down into, now you've got a list of things, the image that the dream has, or the subconscious has now presented you, the subliminal message that it could be. And we've written down the subliminal messages, and we try and piece it together like that. But I make sure that they are doing it from their own experience. I don't want to say to you, a bed means safety to me, but to you it could mean restricted, because you've been restricted in your bed for the last 24 days. And if I say, oh, well, it's relaxing to me, and you say, oh, it's relaxing, your dream isn't going to make sense to you. And And that's what I try and put across to them. Every time we do this, I'm there to hold your hand. I'm there to show you the process and help you. But at the end of the day, you need to pull the message that fits you for you in that time.
I'm sorry, I always remind myself I'm new. So what is it, Shanta says, what does it mean when you dream of losing a loved one? I have to say, you're scared that what are you going to be okay without them? I don't know. What's your interpretation of that one?
Yeah, so again, it comes down to what is happening in that person's life. What is their relationship like? Is it a strained relationship, or is it someone that they're very dependent on? Are they worried that when that person has died, that they have no one, or are they hoping? Is it an aspect that comes from it? But with that said, I mean, I dreamt, I must have been 18, and I dreamed that my elder sister had died in a tragic car accident. And at that time, I had no idea about dreams, and I went and I Googled dreaming of someone dying, and then it came up with that person is pregnant. And so, I went to my sister and I was like, well, I had such a weird dream. I dreamed that you died. And I was like, are you pregnant? And she looked at me and she was like, how did you know? And I was like, okay. So sometimes these things happen, but I think it really does. It has to be deciphered according to what's happening in your life. What it is.
Her dreams are so real that when she wakes up, it takes her a while to come out of them. I dream about intense things like fleeing a war, being in a tsunami, human trafficking. But I'm right there in the dream. I always wonder, why on earth would I be dreaming about these things? So I don't watch TV and movies. Where does it come from? It's all going round and round in her head.
So, I mean, sometimes it's conversations we have amongst people, or things that we've heard on the news that comes out that, we've had high trafficking of people. We've had, all these certain things, and it sits in your subconscious, and it's something obviously that she's maybe afraid of. Oftentimes it's high anxiety that will latch onto everything and bring that up again.
How do you control that? You're in these things, but you probably do it because you're anxious. I mean, everybody's anxious with COVID. We don't know what's going on from one day to the next. My business is going to be up or down. So we're all working in quite an anxious sort of environment. Do you think that's how it's manifesting itself?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's kind of where we're at now. COVID and everything coming up, the looting and everything. Everyone is very highly anxious. So all the dreams are quite vivid. And I think the best thing to do is to try and take yourself out of the situation. I know you can't change your dream, but to wake up and say, okay, that dream isn't real. I'm fine, I'm safe. But another thing she could try and doing is we're talking about positive affirmations earlier, Margaret, and something that I like to do is a way to also remember your dreams is to set intentions and stuff the night before. Same with positive dreaming. So say instead of saying I won't have a nightmare, just say I will have good dreams, I will have happy dreams, I'll have positive dreams. And the more you do that, the more that the chances of that happening will be okay. Sorry, there's a giant bug in me.
I think actually for me, when I remember my dreams, they are sort of driven by higher levels of anxiety, and it's my fears coming to the forefront. Obviously, the one being snakes. And the other one, funnily enough, is losing someone close to me. That is when that was like, yes, that's one I often have, because that's obviously my greatest fear, is losing someone close to me. So that's the other reoccurring theme that often comes up. And as I say, for me, it's when I know that, okay, I'm overly stressed or anxious or whatever it is. So, I mean, they do talk about anxiety dreams, those ones where you wake up sweating and you can almost have a panic attack in your dream. But I read something quite interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you'll definitely know more. Apparently, when we're dreaming, our bodies we become semi-paralyzed so that we don't act out the dream and actually injure ourselves. Because if you're dreaming that I don't know, robbing a bank, you don't want to actually get up and go and rob a bank. And because it feels so real, like you say, your fiance was sort of clinging onto the the curtain, apparently there is a part of our brain that semi-paralyzes us so that we don't overly go and do whatever it is that we're doing.
So Jay said, that's correct. I don't know too much about that. It's not something that I've researched in depth, but I mean, then there are the people who get up and walk. There are the people who cling onto the curtain. There are people who are then active. So I think for a lot of people, it is right that they are kind of sedated almost. But then also for other people, not so much. Like, they are still active and they still are getting up and acting out what is happening in their dream.
Okay, so now I'm going to change the subject slightly, because I studied with a chap by the name of Dr. Brian Weiss in America, and he does past lives. And, I was living, would have these recurring things that was like, and it was like a daydream that was happening to me. And I couldn't understand why. When I studied with Dr. Brian Weiss, we went back into my past life, and was things that happened in that life that would come and would make me anxious. I was terrified of policemen, and in my past life, I was killed by policemen. So that's why I could do that. I was terrified about being in a queue at passport control. I would go into a sweat and I wouldn't know why. And then when I went to my past life, I was in Auschwitz. I actually died in Auschwitz in my past life. And when we were talking about it, it was as real as if I was there that very minute. So what do you think about past lives coming up in your dreams?
Yeah, so it's definitely something that I believe is real. We talk about spiritual dreams and guidance dreams and stuff that come up to guide you or to give you a message from past lives. It's the same as there is also the saying that some anxieties or some fears, phobias and stuff are from past lives that we haven't overcome, that we haven't worked through. I would definitely say, Margaret, that I think that our past lives do come into our dreams to try and teach us lessons that perhaps we haven't learned then, to make us more wary of, certain authoritative figures because we were hard done by them. And I think it's your brain's natural way of trying to protect you and keep you safe.
Oh, that's amazing. Stacey, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. In the Bible, it speaks a lot about our dreams and how our dreams are a prophetic window that God speaks to us through our dreams. And you can see people who have that prophetic gift that often have incredible dreams where they're able to, guide people and give wisdom and encourage people through tough times. So dreams are incredibly powerful, and we do need to stop and listen to our dreams, take notes, write them down, dissect them, because they're happening to us for a reason. They're either there to give us wisdom and guidance, or this is my opinion, or they're there to encourage us to look at areas that we need to potentially change or work through, go to counseling if we're having these anxious dreams all the time, and because our subconscious is talking to us.
I love Chandre's one. She said she was in a car, a man pointed a double barrel gun, shotgun at her stomach, and what did I have to lose? She hit the gun out of his hand, punched him in the throat, took the gun. It was crazy. And she is a purple belt in karate, but do you think she was trying to take control of her life? I think some things were trying to push you in different ways. And you're just saying to you, I can do this. I am strong enough to do this, and be totally fearless. And I think if we can go through life being fearless, which I am, people always say to me, Mom, you think you're bulletproof? And I really do. It just makes your life so much easier to get rid of the fears. My mother starts every sentence with, I'm so scared, I'm terrified, I'm afraid. Every sentence starts with those words. And that is how her whole life has been. She's been afraid of her own shadow. Whereas I'm totally fearless. I have no fear of anything. I've jumped out of airplanes. I've swum across the top of the Zambezi or at Victoria Falls. I'm totally fearless. Do you think it's your fears that are holding you back, Ashley? Or do you think that, to me, I think it is.
Yeah, so I think fear almost has two aspects to it. I think a little bit of fear is great because it pushes you to do things sometimes out of your comfort zone, and also reminds you that, I might have the fear, but if I overcome and do the thing that is making me afraid, I'm stronger than it, and it kind of builds you up. But when we let the fear cripple us, like, you say your mom does, we're attracting more fear, we're attracting more negativity into our lives. And then we almost stop doing everything, and we just sit in a bubble and too scared to do anything. And how is that helpful to our lives?
Keep forgetting to unmute. And then Daphne said, what about health conditions? Are there any health conditions that make people dream? If you're having a bad something, do you think that'll make you dream more or less?
Yeah, so definitely, I think when you're sick as well, you do tend to have more vivid dreams sometimes, or sometimes you're, the other night, I'm pretty sure I dreamed I was dying, and I felt like I was dying. And it was because my whole body was in a state of fight and flight, because it's trying to fight off a sickness. And I think it's very true for other people when they have cancer, or if there's another sickness, sometimes they'll dream that they have it before they get it. And again, it really comes down to what is fed in your what is fed around you, what is the information around you, what is the information inside your body that it's bringing up again. I think what we need to kind of remember is all of the information is often in our surroundings or within, that it's built on. It's not built from stuff that we've never known or never heard of, or, it's not foreign. It's something that has come up maybe in the distance, but has definitely been in our experiences or around us or from someone else or our past lives.
Yeah, I think it's so true. And I think the things that happen to you in the day, sometimes you dwell on them and you don't realize you're dwelling on them, and then they come out in the form of a dream. So what do you say to people before you go to sleep at night? Do you give positive affirmations? I'm going to have a good night's sleep. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to dream about amazing things. Or how do you handle that? And then when you wake up in the morning is the next question. How do you process what you've been through in the night? Because Lindsay says, sometimes she just says to Mom, I wonder where I'm going tonight. It's an adventure. cheap adventure.
That's great. And it just shows you how she's viewing it as like a completely different way, as to someone else who's negative, for instance. So tonight I'm going on an adventure. Where am I going? So her dreams might be a lot lighthearted, or she might be more accepting of what's happening in her dream as an adventure, and not, oh my word, I'm too terrified to go to sleep because I don't know what's going to come up, and it's scaring me. And yeah, so just shaping your mind before you go to bed, positive affirmations. Today was a great day. I'm going to have a good night's sleep. I'm going to have beautiful dreams of what I need to achieve in my life, for instance. And yeah, just keeping it lighthearted, keeping it positive, trying to stay away from, well, personally for me, staying away from watching horror films, staying away from watching any news that, may trigger something for me. What's happening in Ukraine at the moment. I have to detach myself, because I will put myself in that situation and I'll have nightmares about it, and I can't process it because I'm not there, because it's not happening to me. It's very difficult to process something if it hasn't happened to you.
Now, as a coach, when people come to you, how do you start dealing with them? They say, listen, I've come to you, I need coaching. I just feel my life's not going the way I want it to. Where do you start with your actual coaching of them?
So, I always like to think or see where they've gone. What are their goals? What are their future? Where would they like to see themselves in 5 years, for instance? Write down these goals. What kind of steps do you think are preventing you from achieving them? Let's try and eliminate some of the barriers to achieving your goals, and we'll get there one step at a time. Putting in smaller, little achievable weekly goals or daily goals to achieve a bigger goal, essentially. Yeah.
And then, so they set their goals out, they're working towards them, and they just want to get them. Today's instant gratification. I want it to happen now, and it's not happening now. And I would say, in business, I want my business to be this big now. I say, it can't be. You have to grow it little by little by little. And as you grow it, so you learn to handle the money, and so you learn to handle the challenges, and so it grows. How do you deal with millennials who I want everything right now?
It's so difficult, Margaret, because it is you know, and I notice it in myself sometimes, you know, I want to achieve something now, you know, if I start today, why don't I have the end result by the end of the day, even though it's something that I know will take 5 years. But it's this instant gratification that we keep getting from Instagram, from online buying, from going to the shops, from, you know, and it actually makes dealing with people quite awful because everyone wants things now and no one has, they've almost lost that ability to say, okay, well, it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks. Let me sit back, do what I need to do, and in 3 to 4 weeks, follow up. People don't do that anymore, and it's difficult because you need to bring people back to the realization that things aren't instant. Yes, there are aspects of life that can be instant, but you can't expect to lose 20 pounds or kilograms, for instance, in 2 days. That's ridiculous. So it's about bringing the awareness back to like what's realistic and what's unrealistic, making sure they're setting their goals for realistic things, things that they can achieve in a day, and not expecting to do the unthinkable, you know, reminding them that they're not superheroes, you know, no one has the ability to snap their finger and have everything they want. Oh, it would be great, but no one has that ability.
On to weight loss, because weight loss is a huge thing, and I've seen it with my assistant Shane, who lost his 35 odd kilos during lockdown. But they were mindful of it. They really worked at it all the time. And I have people say, "Oh my gosh, you know, I started a diet. I haven't lost any weight. This isn't working for me." How do you groom them to understand that, you know, they've got to actually make it happen themselves?
Yeah, it takes time and literally practice. And what I keep reiterating to them is that it's not an overnight process. You need to take it step by step. You need to set realistic goals. Another nice thing is just being mindful of, you know, if I don't achieve what I set out to achieve in one day, it's not the end of the world. I can take another day to do it. You know, it's about that again, just making sure the reality is in check and not there's no unreality like driving these forces.
And what about people who are going through an anxious time? They are having these bad dreams. They are feeling anxious, you know, a lot of the time. How do you handle that? How do they come and say, "Listen, I'm just having this anxiety. I'm having panic attacks all the time. You know, I'm so nervous. This is going to happen," you know, and they start talking about Russia and Ukraine. And I said, "You've never been there. You're never going to go there. Forget about those guys." But they're taking every little thing and they're being anxious about it. How do you groom them to just get rid of that anxiety, to just let it go?
Yeah, it's again something so difficult for someone who's been anxious their whole lives and take on everything around them. It's very difficult to unlearn that. So again, we have to then, it becomes like the weight loss thing where you set little goals every day. What can I control today? If I can't control it, try not to let it upset you. If it does upset you, write it down, and then let's see how we can address it the next time. It's about trying to take it piece by piece and go through each of the items one at a time. You can't address the whole thing at once. Let's take it little by little and and see how we go.
So many people are depressed at this stage. "Oh, I'm just feeling so depressed." And I said, "Well, just come out with me. We'll go." And like tomorrow, I'm doing a panty drop at a school. I'm working with, you know, a whole lot of different people and different aspects of their businesses. Come out with me and let's help other people, because I think by helping other people, you get rid of your depression that way. What do you say to people when they come and say, "Oh, I'm just feeling so depressed these days. I don't know what it is"?
Well, I think it's important again to look at what's happening around them, you know. Why are they feeling depressed? Are they feeling isolated? Are they feeling alone? Is there a medical condition linked to it? Do they need to go to the GP and see if there are imbalances? You know, it's also important to remember that exercise is something that helps us feel better. It releases, you know, the feel-good hormone in our body, which instantly makes us feel happier, less depressed. So yes, getting out, helping other people, also seeing what how you matter. So going out, helping other people, seeing that your input that day has made someone else's day, knowing that you matter, that kind of stuff helps every step of the way.
Yeah. Now, Virginie says she'd like to know more about the subconscious mind and how it helps us with manifesting our goals and our dreams. Because we all have dreams, we think, oh, this is how I'd like it to be. But, how do we use our subconscious mind to push that through? Maybe we can turn our dreams into reality by working through our dreams.
Yeah. So again, Margaret, we come back to the positive affirmations and setting intentions for ourselves, writing down your goals, and then having affirmations to achieve those goals. I want to have a nice rest, and repeating that to yourself every night. And you can have 4 or 5. And then if you set an intention, I want to live a more positive, or I am going to live a more positive life, is actually more of an intention. And you repeat it every night. The more you repeat these things, the more it will go into your subconscious, and then the more it will come back up.
Stacey, from you, just a wrap up from you about dreams and going forward. What do you think?
Well, I've loved this. So Ashley and I chatted about it earlier today, and I told her my dream, which was quite crazy and lots of different aspects to it. And she said, okay, you need to write down each in point form. And then she said, you need to think about each point and the emotions they hold for you. So for instance, the first part of my dream was that I was pulled over by a traffic officer, but he was an international traffic officer on a motorbike. And then he wouldn't let me go. Like, he followed me and I couldn't drive away from him. We were like stuck together. And that said to me that I am craving that security. I want the wisdom. I want the security. I want, and I'm needing that in my life. Then I went to church and I was horribly late and I felt vulnerable and upset and angry that I wasn't there on time. And then I was partially naked. And so then I thankfully had a shawl that I pulled over myself, so I wasn't naked. But it made me feel vulnerable and scared, and I didn't want to make a fool of myself and ashamed. And then it made me, and then she said, okay, now you have to think about all the things that are happening in your life and why you would be feeling those thoughts, needing the security, needing wisdom. And so I went through it in my head, and it was so encouraging, and like it really helped me just this morning, just in how I need to think about certain things and what's troubling me in my unconscious mind.
Yeah, I think that one about being naked, you're walking down the street naked, I think everybody's had that at some stage or another. What is that? What do you say to them when they come and say, oh my God, I was walking down the street, I was walking down West Street naked. Oh, that was hectic. What do you say to them then, Ashley?
So like I said to Stacey, there's something that's making you feel very vulnerable, or something that you are very vulnerable about that you don't want other people to see, or that perhaps someone has seen, and you're feeling very vulnerable and naked, and perhaps it's so uncomfortable for you. So what is that in your life? Because it's obviously drawing from feelings that you are experiencing in your day-to-day life. What is it? Is it one thing? Is it multiple things? Because sometimes it's not just one thing. Sometimes it has 3 or 4 things that it brings up. And that's why, I say to Stacey, write it down and go through these different things, and then sit with it and see what else comes up. In 2 days' time, you might think, oh, hang on, I didn't think about it, but perhaps it has something to do with, I don't know, something else that's happening that you've kind of forgotten about, or suppressed. So that's the nice thing about these dreams and going through them and analyzing them, is it's always more than one thing, and you can actually draw from your life or instances of where it's happened, or what it's feeling, or why you're feeling that way, and you can address it.
Well, I just have to tell you my little story about the traffic cop. So I chipped my windscreen. So PG Glass came to weld my windscreen, and he said, do you realize your license is expired? I said, oh my God, I never looked at that. It had expired at the end of December. So I was driving to work. So I phoned my husband and I said, you won't believe, I've realized my license is expired. I'm driving to work. I hope I don't get pulled over by a traffic cop. Guess what? That day, I drive to work every single day. I've never, ever been pulled over by a traffic cop in my life. That day, I was pulled over by the traffic cop. So I'll tell you, the sequel to the story is really funny. She said, shame, madam, you were born in 1950. You must be very old. I'm going to let you go. That's a true story. Oh my. Jess, a wrap up from you?
I think it's just lovely to think of dreams as little messages from the subconscious mind, like Ashley said in the beginning. I think that our body is constantly trying to tell us things, show us things, and we choose to ignore it or forget about it. And if we just take the time to listen for a little bit and then sit with it, then maybe there is something in there that can help us, something that can be healing, something that can drive us, something that can, whatever it is, something in it. But maybe to take some dreams with a pinch of salt, because they can get wild.
If you have been having a dream like that, is to meditate on it and just see what comes up when you meditate on it. Stacey, who have we got next week? We just want to see who we've got next week.
So next week we've got Anandi, and she's talking about eating disorders. And orthorexia, which is very interesting. I had to go and Google what it was, but it's a very interesting subject. It's when you're obsessed over healthy food. So healthy food becomes a complete obsession and sort of directed in weight loss. One of the main reason is because of weight loss. So I think that will be really interesting.
Well, I'm obsessed by food, but it doesn't lead to weight loss. I hate to tell you, I still keep on putting it on there, even though I'm obsessed by food. I have to say that I really am. And Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today. And just a wrap up from you to all the people out there who are dreaming about it. We will be writing our dreams down now. How do we get hold of you?
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's been such a pleasure being here and talking about dreams. It's been really great, actually. And yeah, so I'm on Connectable Life. You can find me there. And basically I'm here. If you want to try and affect your dreams with me, come set up an appointment and we can chat.
Set an appointment, you can chat, you can find out about your dreams. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you to Jess and Stacey for hosting. Thank you to Ashley for talking to us about dreams. Let's have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week talking about food, obsession with food, which I definitely have. And and how it can lead to weight loss if you do it the right way, or like me, it doesn't lead to weight loss, unfortunately. But anyway, but thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for joining us. Everybody who's been on the show, thank you to all those who joined us on Facebook as well. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Margaret.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.